Those of you who tuned into our NBA franchise players from the Eastern Conference, thank you. This is the second part of that clip. It is the Western Conference edition. If you missed what went down in the Eastern Conference, there's a little eye in the top right of your screen. I'm actually pointing right at it for the first time in my life. If you click on that, it's a card, and you can go to the Eastern Conference. It works on mobile, which you know a lot of you guys are watching on your phones and tablets. So you have no excuses. You can go over there and watch it too. We're going to do the Western Conference now, which I think is way more debatable. I think this could create havoc in a bar scene if you are in the wrong, if you're in like Central California where it might be Lakers versus Warriors town or Clippers versus Warriors town. Whew, it's going to be interesting. All right, let's get to the first part of this. Again, in order of last year's standings. I felt that was an easy way to contextualize it. Golden State Warriors, there are 4 guys that you can make an argument for are the franchise guy. Stephen Curry, the newly arrived Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. San Antonio Spurs, another interesting argument between Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge. Number 3, there is absolutely no doubt, it is Russell Westbrook. The Clippers, another argument to be made between Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and the lifer in DeAndre Jordan, I guess. The Blazers, once again, no argument, Damian Lillard. The same for the Rockets, James Harden. The Mavericks are easily the toughest one in this entire segment that we've done because Dirk is getting old and has a year or 2 left. If that, Harrison Barnes is just coming in. I should have added Wes Matthews to that card. I should add definitely Wes Matthews to that card. And the Grizzlies, who I don't want to leave out at all because their big 3, which has been together for so long, they just gave Conley the contract. Gasol's going to be back, and people are forgetting that he's one of the best big men in the league. Zach Randolph's been there for a long time, too. Francis Maxwell, let's begin with Golden State. Are you Team Curry, Team Durant, Team Thompson, Team Green, Team Bogut?
Team Varejao.
Team Varejao.
Team Curry, just because it's an argument that could be made, again, like next season we could talk about how Kevin Durant came in and all of a sudden, Golden State Warriors went back to the conference finals and won it. And he performed throughout the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. But at the moment, you got to base it on what you've already seen. You've seen Steph Curry light up the league for 2 consecutive seasons, shooting a ridiculous amount from the three-point line and beyond. And I think that it's not just that. It's like that's part of the Golden State Warriors system. You watch Golden State Warriors, you expect them to shoot threes. You expect the Splash Brothers to go off. Klay Thompson has the ability to go off as consistently well as Steph Curry. Not as much so as in those moments where it set the league alight, such as his game winner against Oklahoma. That's Steph Curry, and that's a franchise player. That's what you're going to expect to kind of drag them out from the depths of adversity and try and push them forward. Yes, I understand it wasn't always the case in the playoffs, but Steph Curry fits into the way they're playing. It's like the same thing could be said if you're going to go into the San Antonio Spurs and talk about how the argument could be made for LaMarcus Aldridge solely because Tim Duncan, I would say, was a franchise player before that.
Absolutely.
So LaMarcus Aldridge is stepping into that position, stepping into that role.
So you team Aldridge?
So it could, no, I'm saying that could be the argument. I just can't bring myself to bank against Kawhi Leonard. Because I love Kawhi Leonard. I think that he is a great ambassador to the league as a whole. This is a guy that just gets his job done. You know what I mean? Like he's rarely going to come under any sort of controversial light. He is rarely going to speak out on anything that's going to detract from his game, like if it's going to be involved in off the court antics with another player or anything. Like he just gets his job done, and that's how efficient he is. I would like him to be considered a franchise player because he encompasses what you should be focused on as an athlete. But as I mentioned, you got to fit into what highlights you as a player as well. LaMarcus Aldridge will thrive quantifiably more so than I think Kawhi Leonard will this season.
I heard Kawhi Leonard smiled once. That's the only Kawhi news. Actually, Grace Baldridge, who you've seen on other TYT Network channels, mentioned that Kawhi Leonard was drag racing recently. She's
really?
a big Spurs fan, so she
knows
everything about the Spurs. Just like you don't want to hear like, oh, God, Kawhi out for season with arm injury from what? Drag racing? That man drag races? I think it's Kawhi Leonard. I don't think there's and LaMarcus Aldridge has the ability to score at will and really become a force, especially in big games, which he did in the beginning of last year's playoffs and then kind of tailed off towards the end. And I will always cite back-to-back 40-plus point performances where he put the team on the Portland Trail Blazers when he was there on his back. He's also a bit older, getting to the other side of 30. So Kawhi being the youth, that's the franchise guy. I'm actually going to go for Kevin Durant on the Golden State Warriors. Even though, again, it's tough for some of these because we haven't seen Durant play with the Warriors. However, I guess the best way to contextualize this, and this is probably logically flawed, which I hate to do anyway, but if I have to pick one guy to keep out of those four, right, as my franchise guy, I'm going to keep Kevin Durant because he's an all-around, not by much, but an all-around better player than Steph Curry. And I know Curry's won the championship. He's won the MVPs. He's proven his range and his finishing at the rim. But Kevin Durant is a number. He is the guy.
I just don't know if I can agree with that.
I'm not expecting a lot of people to agree with me. But if I have to pick one, I think I have to pick Kevin Durant. And I know that's an unfair part because you got to be like, oh, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry, they just walk, they're gone by. Yeah. No. But it's not like that. And it's not by much. And again, I will argue for Steph Curry over Russell Westbrook, but I'll also argue for Kevin Durant over Steph Curry over Russell Westbrook. Am I insane?
I don't know if you're insane. I think that it's not a ridiculous, outlandish comment. Where I think you could have more substance is if Kevin Durant came from like the Sacramento Kings, right, where he was just setting them alight and dragging that team on the back, like dragging them on his back consistently, which he has done for OKC. But he was in a good team. Like OKC's team, it's not like he was solely flying the flag for them on his own. Russell Westbrook was great this year. Steven Adams was great in the past. Ibaka stepped up. James Harden. So he's had good players. So the only thing that makes that argument for me flawed is that he hasn't got a championship ring. He doesn't know what it is to taste that victory. Steph Curry knows what it takes. And that's the only reason. And again, it's the same thing can go. Kevin Durant's going to step in. If you think Kevin Durant won't fit into the system, we're having a different argument. That's not the problem. He's going to fit into any system. He's going to shoot threes. He's going to shoot from beyond the arc. He's going to shoot from distance and also be able to shoot and enhance his game in every way possible.
Look how you just used three different
definitions of the arc. From deep, from downtown, from beyond the arc. Yeah, he'll be doing it no problem.
He can also shoot from 12, 14, 16, 15 and a half, 10 and a half, 3 and a half.
It's not his game that has me question your argument because his game is going to thrive there. But it's Steph Curry, again, is proving it. He's got the ring to showcase that he's able to do it.
Does this argument help? Okay, let's say Durant doesn't ever win a ring, which is very unlikely at this point. Does him being, I don't know if anyone, the greatest player to never win a championship ring, because I think by the time he finishes, people would put him above Barkley. Mm-hmm. I think. I could be wrong. I don't want to underrate Charles Barkley and his amazing all-around ability, mostly his rebounding ability. But being in the top 2-3 guys to have never won a ring, I'm just thinking like Kevin Durant is a franchise player. There's no doubt about that. And Curry's had his fair share of friends. Klay Thompson, Draymond. Andre Iguodala stepping up when he needed to, that kind of thing to make that ring more possible. Again, very, very inching. Our franchises will be slightly different. There'll be the Golden State Warriors, and there'll be the Oakland Storiers.
Yeah.
Historiers.
Here's the argument I think you could have made if I was to switch it and I was in your corner. And I was to join you in your quest for the Kevin Durant.
Come over to the dark side. By the way, people like you understand, I'm going to get shredded because there are so many Durant haters.
No.
It's been time heals all wounds, people.
But this is a good discussion to have. The argument I would have made, which I think fits my argument and fits yours, is LeBron James came into a Miami Heat team that Wayne Wade had already won a ring. He was an NBA champion, but LeBron James became the franchise player.
Franchise guy.
But he was on a shite team. He came from a shite team.
No, I know that. And I'm not arguing that.
And that's it. That's the only thing that throws it back to me. Is that the only thing why I'm still going to side with Curry at this point? Because Kevin Durant could have was so close. They should have beaten the Miami Heat.
I'm going to keep Durant and my $1 Durant jersey that I bought. No, they did. They sold them for like $1.
I would have absolutely bought one.
Right.
No doubt.
What if he comes back, guys? It'll be like, oh,
well, they have to rename that city. Westbrook Town. Have to name it back.
Durant, Oklahoma. What a
Right.
reference. Let's go to the second
Good
card
discussion.
because it is a very good discussion. It's almost impossible to really. Wow, that was a fun one. Regardless, we have a whole second card of teams. Even though, again, some of these very easy. I put Gordon Hayward and Rudy Gobert. There's actually a few guys in the Jazz you can go with. The Kings, DeMarcus Cousins. Even though if I was DeMarcus Cousins, I know this sounds crazy, I wouldn't play this year. Denver Nuggets, Emmanuel Mudiay or Kenneth Faried. Even though Faried probably leaving in free agency, tough one also. Not nearly as interesting though as like Anthony Davis being the guy. But the one to talk about here is the LA Lakers.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
The Clippers are one to talk about too. But for me, it's Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure there's a major.
No,
there's people who love Blake Griffin, but I don't think Blake's proven that much for the Clippers. Not nearly as much as what Chris Paul's done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that again, it's the same argument I could kind of make for when we were talking about Blake Griffin being in the top 10 even. And like, I don't understand like this. Yeah, I understand it maybe a couple of seasons ago, but this is a Clippers team that has to be questioned now. Yes, Chris Paul went down injured. And yes, they had some of the injury worries throughout the season, but Chris Paul is the only player in that team at the moment who is of MVP standards still, and I believe can carry that team. He's the franchise player. The Lakers, however, I give a lot of thought to this, and I think that when you think about franchise player, as I mentioned, they have to be a player that is on board with the system that they're playing. So if it's a Golden State Warriors, it's more than often not going to be a three-point shooter. It's not going to be the center, right? Which, again, is unfair to Draymond considering how well he plays, and not just the center, but the big man role. Whereas the Lakers, their franchise player historically has been an individual, God-given, miraculous talent. Kobe Bryant, right, has been the franchise player for that team. So to make the claim for D'Angelo Russell, I'm not on board with it solely because why wasn't Derek Fisher considered the franchise player at the Lakers, right? But maybe distributing the ball, playing well for their team. But they look for the individual star quality. That's why I think the gates are open, very similarly to Ben Simmons for Brandon Ingram.
So
to be the individual talent. Like, yeah, again, because this is a what-if scenario. We don't know. We know that D'Angelo Russell, towards the end of last season, showed glimmers of brilliance, has shown that he can be a fantastic player. But, again, it's going to be so quantifiable. If he becomes more of the scoring guard, which I think he can be, then, yeah, I think that there's a good case to be made. But I think the gate's open for Brandon Ingram.
And he absolutely did improve. Of course, we saw him in the summer league, and he tore up because that's what a sophomore looks when he plays against rookies, as he should. However, I think there's one name I did leave off the list, which is unfair. Luke Walton could be a franchise guy if he brings in enough elements of Steve Kerr's system, and it really does open up the floor. And again, the biggest thing was getting rid of Byron Scott because the defensive efficiency problems were a nightmare. But Luke Walton could be one of those life-changing coaches, or he could just fall into mediocrity like many coaches do. I'm a fan of Luke Walton. I think the Lakers selecting him as his head coach was a fantastic idea. Yeah. A lot of young talent to develop. It's either D'Angelo or Brandon Ingram. Jordan Clarkson is somebody who can be a slashing point guard who can find a way to start getting a better deep shot, and that might be something. No, Marcelo Huertas is not the franchise guy for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Timothy Mozgov,
Luol Deng are not franchise guys for Los Angeles Lakers. I think it's deloading, or it's Brandon Ingram. I'm going to slightly side also with Brandon Ingram, given his, again, how he develops. Does he become that guy? That's all the time we have, though, so we got to get out of here. Like, favorite, subscribe, watch both videos. Comment below who you think. For the teams that are up for debate. Again, the Pelicans are Anthony Davis. It's not anybody else, obviously. But for the ones that are up for debate, we're curious what you think.
Really quick,
Karl-Anthony Towns. Wiggins is a perennial scorer and is 3 points per game away from being in like the top 10 scorers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Talking a minor improvement. You're talking 20 to 25 more made shots over the course of a season.
Yeah. But Towns is moving with the game in terms of the unicorn status that is almost so attractive to watch. Like a big man that can shoot like that and has handles like that. That's what I think he's
35 to 40 more shots made per game on Andrew Wiggins. Sorry, math was wrong. Percentage-wise would go up more.
I was wondering if you were just contemplating.
No, 20 to 25 more shots per game would raise the percentage, but it wouldn't be enough to raise the points per game. We'd be more efficient, which would make them still better.
Calculator?
No, I can do that. Those numbers I can do in my head somehow.
All right.
Still hate math. Comment below.
Goodwill hunting.